Hello. So in this video, we are going to be introducing rational functions and what they are. So rational functions, these are functions that are sort of like rational numbers, right? They are the fraction bit of functions. So if we have some f of x and some g of x, then a rational function is just the division of those two things. So for example, if we have this f of x here, x squared plus 3x over square root of x plus 1, this would be a rational function. Now, a bit of an asterisk here. Rational functions technically are just the ratio of any two functions. You're good. Sometimes, however, some professors, some settings, whatever, they will specify that those functions have to be polynomials. So this is something that'll be sort of specific to a given class, in which case this wouldn't be considered a rational function in that class because they only want polynomials on the top and bottom. That's not the case for this video, but as always, check with your instructor just to make sure you're on the same page. Now, in contrast, this here, x squared plus 1 over x plus, and then this other thing, this thing would not be a rational function. And the reason why is that it's not one ratio, right? It's not 1 f of x over g of x. Now, that being said, it would be very sort of easy to make it a rational function, right? You would just make the common denominator and put them together into one fraction sort of expression, then it would be in the sort of proper rational function form. But as it stands now, we wouldn't necessarily call this a rational function, okay? So as a sort of another footnote here, technically speaking, you could take any function and put it over 1 or some, constant, right? So by convention, we don't want to count that. So if we have just a constant in the denominator, something like, for example, this thing, right, where we have some function in the top, but then it's just a number, right, just a constant value of 4 in the bottom. This we wouldn't count as a rational function because really it's just 1/4 times that function. It's not a ratio of two sort of interesting enough functions in some sense. So just a little asterisk there that typically if the bottom is just a number, we don't really count that as a rational function. Okay, so what we do? Well, we talked about rational functions. In general, they're sort of like rational numbers where you just have a ratio of two things. Strictly speaking, in general, a rational function, those can be any functions, but it's very common depending on the sort of specific setting that you're in, that you might want those to only be polynomials. So make sure that you double check or, make sure if your professor says things about rational functions that you're on the same page, whether it's they want just polynomials or any kind of functions, okay? That is that.